Hey guys, I'm Brad of Brave the Woods, and today I wanted to share with you guys 3 different tips on how to get the type of work that you actually want to do. Not just getting new clients and projects in general, but getting the type of projects that really excite you and maybe dream projects for you. I actually get asked this question quite a bit, not just from younger freelancers looking to kind of break into anything. They're kind of shotgunning what types of projects they want to take on and what they want to get into because they just don't really know yet. But the same problem that they have, which is not having the body of work to support those types of things, they don't have any evidence that they can do that type of project. The same thing persists with more established creatives who want to get into a different avenue of illustration or design. They just don't have the body of work to support it. So when they go out there hoping, putting out these good vibes, trying to get these types of projects that they really want to get, they're not getting them. They get frustrated. It's because the client has nothing to look at. They don't know that you want to do this. So you have to tell them, you have to show them that this is what you want to do. And so that's the number one tip that I have, is to make the type of work that you want to get. So a great example of that is when, I've always wanted to illustrate a children's book. It's been a dream of mine. And for several years as a professional illustrator, I had no idea how to get into that world. Now, I knew I could go to some conferences and kind of rub shoulders with people. Maybe it was the contacts that I had, which that very well could be it as well. But I was just having a really difficult time getting into it. And I realized it was because no publisher is going to go out there and look at my work and be like, oh yeah, he's a children's book illustrator. I wasn't making tons of character designs. I wasn't organizing it in a way that would make them think that I could, write a children's book or illustrate a children's book. So I had to go out and do it on my own. I had to make the type of work that I wanted. Call it a passion project, side hustle, whatever you want to do, make the time to create those types of things. So I made my first children's book, which was Tatai's Gift. My wife, luckily enough, is a very talented writer, and she wrote the book, and I was able to illustrate it, and then we self-published on Kickstarter. The Kickstarter was successfully funded. We got this out into the world. Then Simon & Schuster reached out and said, hey, wait, you illustrate children's books, don't you? We have a book that we want you to help us with. And I was like, yes, I'm totally an illustrator. I'm totally a children's book illustrator. And even though that was the one book and it was self-published, they got to see that body of evidence that, one, is something that I'm interested in, but 2, also something that I could do. And so then I got my first book deal with an actual publisher, which was Ono Astro, which was a really, really fun book to work on. And I've worked with several other publishers since then. And that's all because of, that one self-initiated project. I put the type of work that I wanted to do in my portfolio. And that's just for freelancers. If you're working at a studio or agency and there's certain types of projects that you really want to be involved in, the best thing I can say to do is to just experiment with what you have. Start taking chances and creative liberties in the opportunities that you already have and are given at work. So I worked at Column 5. That was my first job out of college, and they're an awesome company. And we did infographics right when infographics were huge. I was working on 3 or 4 infographics. It felt like a day. And I was in this infographic mindset in all my portfolio because the first thing I did out of college was all infographics. And so when I left Column 5, I was not burnout, but kind of burnout of doing infographics. I didn't want to do those anymore, but my whole portfolio was just infographics. So what do you think people came to me looking for and reaching out with new projects for? Infographics. That's what they saw in my portfolio. That's what I thought I was good at. I had the body of work. That's what they wanted. So tip number 2 is to put the type of work in your portfolio that you want to get. I guess this is the same type of thing. Not just making the type of work you want to get, then curate your portfolio with the type of projects that you want your potential clients to see. Now, that also means you need to go through there and take out the stuff that you don't want, which is kind of hard, especially if we're starting out and we realize that our portfolios aren't super, deep and we don't have a ton of stuff there. That can be kind of frustrating to take out maybe a third of your portfolio because it's the type of work that you don't want to get. You kind of have to take out enough that people don't just come to you for that thing. And so I had to remove a lot of my infographic work and start filling it with the types of projects that I was doing in tip number 1, which was just these side projects of creating the type of work that I wanted. Then I curated my portfolio in a way that would really excite a client. And maybe that's telling a story, maybe that's, doing case studies, whatever you're aiming for, that's what you want to do. Maybe it's just heavy on illustration visuals. That's fine. But you just need to figure out what your client wants and then cater your portfolio to match what they want. Just remember that you're always judged by your worst piece in there. No matter what, take out the pieces that are the worst. And maybe that's just over time you realize, oh man, it's been 2 years and I hate that piece now. Take it out and fill it with new stuff. They're always going to judge you by the worst piece in there. For the last tip, number 3, you need to find out who's in charge of the types of projects that you want, or who works at these companies that you want to work for. So I wanted to have Target for the longest time as a client. They're now one of our biggest clients, and we work with a bunch of different departments within Target, which is awesome. But it took a lot of research to try to find who to connect with, because they didn't just connect with me. Now this kind of goes along with what we said earlier. You do need to somewhat rub shoulders and make friends, with people in either that industry or that specific company that you want to work with. And sometimes that can be difficult. So the way that I did it with Target several years back when we started working with them, or right before I started working with them, I'd actually looked on social media and looked at people who were doing similar work to the type of work I was doing, not style, but the similar vein of work that I wanted. And when they posted on social media, a lot of them would tag the art director or creative director that they worked with on that project. So I knew that was a person that I needed to connect with. So I looked them up on LinkedIn or on social media, and I'd start following them. And not in a creepy stalker way, but I would follow them and friend them and try to find a way to kind of get on their radar. One tip would be just to leave comments here and there on their posts. Especially if they're putting out work that they're showing that they creative directed or art directed that you really enjoyed or responded to. Leaving a genuine comment would be a really good idea, so that they kind of know you exist, but you're also not asking or begging for anything. And the key to that, like I said, is being genuine, not sitting there and just spamming their social media account or sending out cold emails just begging for work. The real kicker is trying to build up that trust and showing them that you actually are invested in what they're doing, enjoy what they make, and would love to work with them. That's just one little tip on how to get yourself on their radar and in their world. You can go to events. There's lots of different ways to connect with people, but following them and leaving genuine responses on their social media so they know you exist is really a good entry-level way to kind of work your way in without being overbearing and begging for work. And I've seen that be really, really successful. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope these tips helped. If you have any extra additional tips that you use to get the type of work that you want to get, that you'd like to share, please do so in the comments below. I'd love to learn, and I'm sure everybody watching would like to learn some new ideas as well. So thank you guys so much. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.